Marian Graham earned her master's degree in international affairs from the George Washington University and her master's of professional studies degree in TESOL from Manhattanville College. She has taught English in New York City and the National Capital Regions and at the University of Jena, Germany. Her service includes teaching English for Hogar Español and employment counseling for Migration and Refugee Services, both agencies of Catholic Charities, Diocese of Arlington.
I teach RD 102, intermediate reading, to combine our standard curriculum, which teaches them the American values. We all learned about them. Freedom, equality of opportunity, self-reliance, competition, and though to put them in a broader context of American culture. And that is one of, examination of race and identity in the context of these American values. They're very nice values, but really when we think about American society, the heritage of Western superiority and ideas of the Enlightenment, which allowed people to take whatever they want, in other words, someone else's land, as long as you're willing to do with it what you want, gives us a different view of American culture and history. So we started with Andrew Jackson's policy of Indian removal. We used a lot of different media. Students did a lot of different readings from different fields, contemporary reports on things like Manifest Destiny, outside observers such as Tocqueville as they were touring the country. What did they observe of the treatment of Native Americans as they were being removed from their native lands to the West? And this also gave students the opportunity to think about themselves and how their culture is treated today or has been treated within the context of this broader American culture. We read one article which appeared this June in the Washington Post called Tests of Faith, From Fawaz to Tony, and it was about a Palestinian immigrant who, as Tony, was very integrated into American society. After September 11th, he was even selling flags. That was his business, but how he withdrew back into his own culture after the attacks of September 11th. So our exploration gave students the opportunity to think about themselves and how they fit into American culture. So to examine Manifest Destiny and how these values actually operated in American history, we went to the Museum of American Art. Now this is a study by Emanuel Leutze of Westward, The Course of Empire, and the original, this is just the study which is at American Art, the original hangs in the Capitol building. And so when you examine this picture, you can see everybody is moving west and how difficult it is. And this here below is where the Golden Gate Bridge later was built. But whenever Native Americans are seen in these pictures, they are on the sidelines, and of course they are a disruptive force. Today we would say they are fomenting terrorist activity against the larger culture. So these are some recommended readings that I have based on the research that I did. Tocqueville's Discovery of America by Leo Damrosch, and he's a historian from Harvard University, but he also writes for a general audience, and so it's a very well-written book, which the writing was very accessible to my students. We also used literature, Walking the Choctaw Road by Tim Tingle. Tim Tingle, a Choctaw storyteller. We read some of those stories, and the students really enjoyed that. And Tingle has a positive approach to his tribe and their culture nowadays, that they have a positive outlook, even though they have had the experience of being resettled in the West. For those of you who are will be part of this year's cohort. I think the book that I found last semester, Grace Elizabeth Hale's Making Whiteness, it's about the construction of American identity, and so that may be very interesting of great interest to you when I think about your theme of identity. Some other reading I took a course in museums and education, and so I can highly recommend these books. The first one, Learning from Museums, Visitor Experiences and the Making of Meaning, by John Falk and Lynn Deerking. They are museum educators, and so this gives you a look at how curators go about their business and how they practice the craft of informal learning in museums. Museums in Motion by Edward and his daughter Mary Alexander. This is the second edition of their book, Museums in Motion, An Introduction to the History and Functions of Museums. And it's a very, very useful book. It teaches you all about all the different types of museums all over the world. And so that was all very interesting. Some of the techniques that we use, for example, to introduce the topic and to get students interested in going to a museum, I did an object autobiography, and this is a technique from material culture. And what I did was I shared with the class a collection that I had, or objects. You can also do it based on either, say if you were collecting, did you have a doll collection as a young girl? Did you have a rock collection if you were a boy? Or what objects did you have that were very precious to you? And this teaches students to appreciate objects, to appreciate material culture, and then you can branch into a discussion of, well, why do we have museums? What are museums for? I found also, because I used artworks, that we spent a lot of time talking before we went to the museum, talking about, well, we often discuss in reading classes, why do writers write? Obviously, sometimes it's just to entertain us, if there's someone like Diane Steele, but sometimes they have a message to give us, a message to share. So in the same way, artists, also, we can consider those who write literature and artists, so those who paint paintings are also artists, and they have messages for us also. And so it was a very exciting semester. I built in a 2-week unit on Manifest Destiny, the relocation of Native Americans from their native lands to new lands in the West. And the students benefited from it greatly. We went to the Museum of American Art twice to see paintings about the West, and also to tour the exhibit, the Great American Hall of Wonders, because that exhibit just tapped into our course themes, all about American abundance, American creativity, and the push west in the 19th century. So it was all a very successful program, and I certainly would use this unit I made again with our students. This semester I'm going to take them to the Renwick, since it is a presidential election year. There is an exhibit there on objects from the White House, and so each student will choose an object, and then they will write. I'll use it in my EL 102 class, where they will have to write paragraphs using each of the modes of writing that we use in that course, and write about the president, some of the objects from the White House, and what went on during their term of office, so that they're learning, again, more about American culture and history. Thank you.